Bible in a Year, the Message Version, June 26, 2 Kings chapter 9, verse 14 through chapter 10, verse 31. That ignited the conspiracy of Jehu, son of Jehoshaphat, son of Nimshi, against Joram. Meanwhile, Joram and the entire army were defending Ramoth Gilead against Hazael, king of Aram, except that Joram had pulled back to Jezreel to convalescence from the injuries he had from the Amarenes in the battle with Hazael, king of Aram. Jehu said, "If you really want me as king, don't let anyone sneak out of the city and blab the news of Jezreel." Then Jehu mounted a chariot and rode to Jezreel, where Joram was in bed, resting. King Azari of Judah had come down to visit Joram. A sentry standing duty on the watchtower in Jezreel saw the company of Jehu arrive. He said, "I see a band of men." Joram said, "Get a horseman and send him out to meet them and inquire, 'Is anything wrong?'" The horseman rode out to meet Jehu and said, "The king wants to know if there's anything wrong." Jehu said, "What's it to you whether things are right or wrong? Fall in behind me." The sentry said, "The messenger reached them, but he's not returning." The king then sent a second horseman. When he reached them, he said, "The king wants to know if there's anything wrong." Jehu said, "What's it to you whether things are right or wrong? Fall in behind me." The sentry said, "The messenger reached them, but he's not returning." The driving is like the driving of Jehu, son of Nimshi. Crazy. Joram ordered, "Get my chariot ready." They hitched up his chariot. Joram, king of Israel, and Hazael, king of Judah, each in his own chariot, drove out to meet Jehu. They met him in the field of Naboth of Jezreel. When Joram saw Jehu, he called out, "Good day, Jehu." Jehu answered, "What's good about it? How can there be anything good about it as long as the promiscuous whoring and sorcerers of your mother Jezebel pollute the country?" Joram wheeled his chariot around and fled, yelling to Uzziah, "It's a trap, Uzziah." Jehu pulled on his bow and released an arrow. It hit Joram between the shoulder blades and went right through his heart. He slumped to his knees in his chariot. Jehu ordered Bidkar, his lieutenant, "Quick, throw him into the field of Naboth of Jezreel. Remember when you and I were driving our chariots behind Ahab, his father? That's when God pronounced this doom upon him. As surely as I saw the blood of murdered Naboth and his sons yesterday, you'll pay for it on this exact piece of ground." God's word. So take him and throw them out into the field. God's instructions carried out to the letter. Ahaziah, king of Judah, saw what was going on and made his escape on the road toward Beth Hagan. Jehu chased him, yelling out, "Get him too!" Jehu's troops shot and wounded him in his chariot on the hill up to Gur, near Ibalim. He was able to make it as far as Megiddo. There he died. His aides drove on to Jerusalem. They buried him in the family plot in the city of David. In the 11th year of the reign of Joram, son of Ahab, Ahaziah had become king of Judah. When Jezebel heard that Jehu had arrived in Jezreel, she made herself up, put on eyeshadow and arranged her hair, and posed seductively at the window. When Jehu came through the city gate, she called down, "So, how are things, Zimri, you dashing king killer?" Jehu looked up at the window and called, "Is there anybody up there on my side 2 or 3 palace eunuchs looked out. He ordered, "Throw her down." They threw her out of the window. Her blood splattered the walls and the horses, and Jehu trampled her under his horse's hooves. Then Jehu went inside and ate his lunch. During lunch, he gave orders. "Take care, that damned woman. Give her a decent burial. She is, after all, a king's daughter." They went out to bury her, but there was nothing left of her but skull, feet, and hands. They came back and told Jehu. He said, "It's God's word, the word spoken by Elijah the Tishbite. In the field of Jezreel, dogs will eat Jezebel. The body of Jezebel will be like dog droppings on the ground of Jezreel. Old friends and lovers will say, 'I wonder, is this Jezebel?'" Ahab had 70 sons still living in Samaria. Jehu wrote letters addressing the officers of Jezreel, the city elders, and those in charge of Ahab's sons, and posted them to Samaria. The letters read, "This letter is fair warning. You're in charge of your master's children, chariots, horses, fortifications, and weapons. Pick the best and most capable of your master's sons and put him on the throne. Prepare to fight for your master's position." They were absolutely terrified at the letter. They said, "2 kings have already been wiped out by him. What hope do we have?" So they sent the warden of the palace, the mayor of the city, the elders, and the guardians to Jehu with this message: "We are your servants. Whatever you say, we'll do. We're not making anyone king here. You're in charge. Do what you think best." Then Jehu wrote a second letter. "If you are on my side and are willing to follow my orders, here's what you do. Decapitate the sons of your master and bring the heads to me by this time tomorrow in Jezreel." The king's sons numbered 70. The leaders of the city had taken responsibility for them. When they got the letter, they took the king's sons and killed all 70. Then they put the heads in baskets and sent them to Jehu in Jezreel. The messenger reported to Jehu, "They've delivered the heads of the king's sons." He said, "Stack them in 2 piles at the city gate until morning." In the morning, Jehu came out, stood before the people, and addressed them formally. "Do you realize that this very day you are participants in God's righteous workings? True, I am the one who conspired against my master and assassinated him, but who do you suppose is responsible for this pile of skulls? Know this for certain, not a single syllable that God spoke in judgment on the family of Ahab is canceled. You're seeing it with your own eyes. God's doing what, through Elijah, he said he would do." Then Jehu proceeded to kill everyone who had anything to do with Ahab's family. In Jezreel, leaders, friends, priests, he wiped out the entire lot. That done, he brushed himself off and set out for Samaria. Along the way at Beth Aked, binding house of the shepherds, he met up with some relatives of Uzziah, king of Judah. Jehu said, "Who are you?" They said, "We're relatives of Uzziah, and we've come down to a reunion of the royal family." "Grab them," ordered Jehu. They were taken and then massacred at the well of Beth Aked. 42 of them, no survivors. He went on from there and came upon Jehonadab, the Rissabite, who was on his way to meet him. Greeting him, he said, "Are we together, or of one mind in this?" Jehonadab said, "We are. Count on me." "Then give me your hand," said Jehu. They shook hands on it, and Jehonadab stepped up into the chariot with Jehu. "Come along with me," said Jehu, "and witness my zeal for God." Together they proceeded in the chariot. When they arrived in Samaria, Jehu massacred everyone left in Samaria who was in any way connected with Ahab, a mass execution just as God had told Elijah. Next, Jehu got all the people together and addressed them. Ahab served Baal small time. Jehu will serve him big time. Get all the prophets of Baal here, everyone who served him, all his priests. Get everyone here. Don't leave anyone out. I have a great sacrifice to offer Baal. If you don't show up, you won't live to tell about it. Jehu was lying, of course. He planned to destroy all the worshippers of Baal. Jehu ordered, "Make preparations for a holy convocation for Baal." They did, and posted the date. Jehu then summoned everyone in Israel. They came in droves, every worshipper of Baal in the country. Nobody stayed home. They came and packed the temple of Baal to capacity. Jehu directed the keeper of the wardrobe, "Get robes for all the servants of Baal." He brought them out, their robes. Jehu and Jehonadab, the Rissachabite, now entered the temple of Baal and said, "Double check and make sure that there are no worshippers of God in here. Only Baal worshippers are allowed." Then they launched the worship, making the sacrifices and burnt offerings. Meanwhile, Jehu had stationed 80 men outside with orders, "Don't let a single person escape. If you do, it's your life for his life." When Jehu had finished the sacrificial Solomonites, he signaled to the officers and guards, "Enter and kill, no survivors." And the bloody slaughter began. The officers and guards threw the corpses outside and cleared the way to enter the inner shrine of Baal. They hauled out the sacred phallic stone from the temple of Baal and pulverized it. They smashed the Baal altars and tore down the Baal temple. It's been a public toilet ever since. And that's the story of Jehu's wasting of Baal in Israel. But for all that, Jehu didn't return back from the sins of Jehoram, son of Nebat, the sins that had dragged Israel into a life of sin. The golden calves in Bethel and Dan stayed. God commanded Jehu, "You did well to do what I saw was best. You did what I ordered against the family of Ahab. As reward, your sons will occupy the throne of Israel for 4 generations." Even then, though, Jehu wasn't careful to walk in God's ways and honor the God of Israel from an undivided heart. He didn't turn back from the sins of Jehoram, son of Nebat, who led Israel into a life of sin. Acts chapter 17, verse 1 through verse 34. They, Paul and Silas, took the road south through Amphipolis and Apollonia to Thessalonica, where there was community of Jews. Paul went to their meeting place, as he usually did when he came to a town, and for 3 Sabbaths running he preached to them through the scriptures. He opened up the text so that they understood what they had been reading all their lives, that the Messiah absolutely had to be put to death and raised from the dead. There were no other options, and that this Jesus I'm introducing you to is that Messiah. Some of them were won over and joined ranks with Paul and Silas, among them a great many God-fearing Greeks and a considerable number of women from the aristocrat class. But the hard-line Jews became furious over the conversations. Mad with jealousy, they rounded up a bunch of brawlers off the street and soon had an ugly mob terrorizing the city as they hunted down Paul and Silas. They broke into Jason's house, thinking that Paul and Silas were there. When they couldn't find them, they grabbed Jason and his friends instead and dragged them before the city fathers, yelling hysterically, "These people are out to destroy the world, and now they've shown up on our doorsteps, attacking everything we hold dear, and Jason is hiding them. These traitors and turncoats who say Jesus is king and Caesar is nothing." The city fathers and the crowd of the people were totally alarmed by what they heard. They made Jason and his friends post heavy bail and let them go while they investigated the charges. That night, under cover of darkness, their friends got Paul and Silas out of the town as fast as they could. They sent them to Berea, where they again met with the Jewish community. They were treated a lot better there than in Thessalonica. The Jews received Paul's message with enthusiasm and met with him daily, examining the scriptures to see if they supported what he said. A lot of them became believers, including many Greeks who were prominent in the community, women and men of influence. But it wasn't long before reports got back to Thessalonian hard-line Jews that Paul was at it again, preaching the word of God, this time in Berea. They lost no time responding and created a mob scene there too. With the help of his friends, Paul gave them the slip, caught a boat, and put out to sea. Silas and Timothy stayed behind. The men who helped Paul escape got him as far as Athens and left him there. Paul sent word back with them to Silas and Timothy, "Come as quickly as you can." The longer Paul waited in Athens for Silas and Timothy, the angrier he got. All those idols. The city was a junkyard of idols. He discussed it with the Jews and other like-minded people at the meeting place, and every day he went out on the streets and talked with anyone who happened along. He got to know some of the Epicurean and Stoic intellectual pretty well through these conversations. Some of them dismissed him with sarcasm. "What a moron!" But others, listening to him go on about Jesus and the resurrection, were intrigued. That's a new slant on the gods. Tell us more. These people got together and asked him to make a public presentation over Areopagus, where things were a little quieter. They said, "This is a new one on us. We've never heard anything quite like it. Where did you come up with this anyway? Explain it so we can understand." Downtown Athens was a great place for gossip. There were always people hanging around, natives and tourists alike, waiting for the latest tidbit on most anything. So Paul took his stand in the open space at the Areopagus and laid it out for them. "It is plain to see that you Athenians take your religion seriously. When I arrived here the other day, I was fascinated with all the shrines I came across, and then I found one inscribed, 'To the God nobody knows.' I'm here to introduce to you this God so you can worship intellectually. Know who you're dealing with. The God who made the world and everything in it, this master of sky and land, doesn't live in custom-made shrines or need human race to run errands for him as if he couldn't take care of himself. He makes the creatures. The creatures don't make him. Starting from scratch, he made the entire human race and made the earth hospitable, with plenty of time and space for living so we could seek after God and not just grope around in the dark, but actually find him. He doesn't play hide and seek with us. He's not remote. He's near. We live and move in him, can't get away from him. One of your poets said it well. We're the God created. Well, if we are the God created, it doesn't make a lot of sense to think that we could hire a sculptor to chisel a god out of stone for us, does it? God overlooks it as long as you don't know any better. But that time is past. The unknown is now known, and He's calling for a radical life change. He has set a day when the entire human race will be judged and everything set right, and He has already appointed the judge, confirming Him before everyone by raising Him from the dead. At the phase raising Him from the dead, the listeners split. Some laughed at Him and walked off making jokes. Others said, "Let's do this again. We want to hear more." But that was it for the day, and Paul left. There were still others, it turned out, who were convinced then and there and stuck with Paul. Among them, Dioceses, the Areopagite, and a woman named Damaris. Psalm 144, verse 1 through verse 15, a David psalm. Blessed be God, my mountain, who trains me to fight fair and well. He's the bedrock on which I stand, the castle in which I live, my rescuing knight, the high crag where I run for dear life, while my life lays. I wonder why you care, God. Why do you bother with us at all? All we are is a puff of air. We're like shadows in a campfire. Step down out of heaven, God. Ignite volcanoes in the heart of the mountains. Hurl your lightnings in every direction. Shoot your arrows this way and that. Reach all the way from sky to sea. Pull me out of the ocean of hate, out of the grip of those barbarians who lie through their teeth, who shake your hand, then knife you in the back. Oh God, let me sing a new song to you. Let me play it on my 12-string guitar, a song to the God who saved the king, the God who rescued David, his servant. Rescue me from the enemy's sword. Release me from the grip of those barbarians who lie through their teeth, who shake their head, then knife you in the back. Make our sons in their prime like sturdy oak trees, our daughters as shapely and bright as fields of wildflowers. Fill our barns with great harvest. Fill our fields with huge flocks. Protect us from invasions and exile. Eliminate the crime in our streets. How blessed the people who have all of this. How blessed the people who have God for God. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 27 and 28. The one who knows much says little. An understanding person remains calm. Even dunces who keep quiet are thought to be wise. As long as they keep their mouths shut, they're smart. This was a daily reading from the Message version of the Bible, read to you by BibleNaYear.